Welcome to today's Wilhelm channeling. I will be leading us through the opening meditation today. So I invite all of us now to close our eyes, deepen into the breath, deepening into the body. Slow, conscious breath. Just for a moment, just feeling what it feels to embody us. Welcoming into the space that which we all connect to spiritually. That could be God, it could be the universe. Whatever you connect with that resonates with you. That one thing that we know within is larger than all of us. Inviting this connection into the space. Deepening into the breath ever still. And connecting that into our hearts. Connecting to that antenna that allows us to feel each other, to feel the universe, feel all life, sourced through the endless, boundless generation of love. Deepening into our breaths even more, maybe 20% deeper. Now connecting to our inner wisdom, our inner teachers. That which bridges the love in our hearts and that which we connect through spiritually, through the cosmos, through the collective wisdom that we all have access to. And it is from here that we build this sacred space together, ready to receive all of the downloads from Wilhelm. So my friends, take a deep, collective breath together. Let's all breathe in and releasing the breath. And here we are in presence, ready to receive. And Wilhelm, we are ready to receive you.
Thank you so much. And we're ready to begin. We have waited for you your entire life. Now, we know we say that to you every time, and this time you'll hear it. And you'll hear it today more than ever before, and it doesn't matter when you might hear this particular recording, when it might come up in your life, because it will still be the same for you. We wanted you to choose love. That's what we've been doing this entire time. We've used this being here, our messenger, to bring in all of this information for his 73 years to bring it into this day. And it's not accidental. Nothing about this is accidental. Nothing that's occurring in your world, nothing that's occurring in your life, nothing is accidental. You just hear it a different way. Now, we've asked you before to please have our messenger listen to the recordings because he doesn't know what's happening. He's in a different dimension when he's receiving us, and he has to go back and listen. But many of you did not do that. But you also didn't listen yourself, because if you had, you would understand what was happening in your world and in your life now, because that's the most important thing. You exist at the most tremendous time of your life, the most tremendous time of your life journey, your evolutionary process. That's why you chose to be here. You look out and you think that it's chaotic out there. Well, it's chaotic because you came to love yourself. And as you move through your restrictions that have existed within you on your evolutionary path, then you start to see that reflected in your world, and your world begins to change. But it takes a while. It takes a while for all of you. It took a while for our messenger to understand what we had done. And we're going to start with something else today because we want to get to so many of you and answer your questions as we felt the fear, we felt the doubt, we felt your confusion, and we're going to speak to all of it. But yesterday, he sat down to begin to put together information that he has to put on a site because he wants to bring our work to a channeling site where many channelers are there. So they wanted him to tell his story. So we'll tell you here so you'll know why we're doing this and why we've been doing this for the last several years. And because he was hidden before this, many of you have been hidden. You've been hidden from so many things that are within you, and many of you are feeling them emerging now mysteriously, and you're seeing synchronicities and things that are coming into your life that you didn't understand. That's because you're evolving spiritually. That's why you're in physical form. You come into the physical plane at the right time for your evolutionary journey and that of your planet. But this is a major ascension, which we've called your restructuring. That's why it looks a little chaotic. You want to let go of everything that was old and everything that was old within you. We wanted you to let go of your self-judgment. We wanted you to let go of your doubt. When we first began giving these talks, we said we wanted to lessen your fear and doubt because we knew that you would see them. And you can't explain, and we ask you, please don't use your logical mind because you will never figure this out. You can't understand why we have a message on the screen that we gave you 3 years ago that is pertinent to your life and your world now. It's because you're limited by linear time. We are not. We access cosmic information, and that's why it's been so effective for many of you who have been doing our work, because it connects you to your soul purpose. You each have one. You have a divine plan. You have a blueprint. It just looks different than everyone else's, and that's what's giving you difficulty. However, your world, your planets, your lives are all created through energy, and it's this quality of the energy that you bring into your life and into the world that causes it all to turn out in a particular way. Now, you're moving through what we have called a generational change. That's why it's so challenging. And what you're seeing is people who are unwilling to let go of what was old. The wars that are occurring in your world are not accidental, and we told you about those many years ago, but you couldn't hear us because you typically don't see things until they're right in front of you. But what we are saying, that each of you have something within you that you could do more, that you could love more, that you can move through more. And that collective energy is what changes your world. And you wonder why we would pick the 13th. Well, if you know anything about Roger, you know that his lucky number is 13. That doesn't make sense to any of you, but it did to him. Just like we had that message on the screen that said he will only see the good in each of you because he's had to move through his evolutionary path to bring this work here now. That doesn't make him any better than any of you because none of you are better or worse than another. You just have individual paths. We gave you a message in 2012, and we're going to explain all of this because this is what we had him write yesterday as he's telling the story. When Roger began receiving us in 1988, he didn't know what was happening, and it frightened him, and he kept putting it away. He didn't even understand why he chose the name Wilhelm, because we told him he had his choice of what he could choose. You each have choices, but you just decide when you're going to accept that. And then he attempted to keep it hidden for like 20 years. And then he got exposed, because many times you get exposed. People will come to you and say, this is who you are. You don't believe it because you can't see it all the time. He couldn't see it either. And that's why he kept doubting it. You each do that. You doubt the things that are placed in front of you because you don't believe that they are you. And we're saying they are. It just takes you a while to use your human mind, that's your neuroscience, to change cognitive processes that you've all developed that have been limited. You come into the world broken, as we said, meaning that you have these limitations, and all of them you've carried from before because you all have infinite intelligence. And when you start connecting who you are to that infinite intelligence, you start to discover your authentic self, and that is your blueprint, and that is the most brilliant thing that you could have been given. Now, but the only problem is you've judged it. You've judged the mistakes you've made. You've judged the problems that you've had. You've judged everything. You've even judged the way you look. We want you to get rid of that. You were born perfect. And we keep saying that, but you only come to it at a certain time. But then when you start to understand that your world is manifested energetically, you will start to take use of those energies. And we've always said that we give you these talks on the moon phases because Roger is so connected to that, and he's a double Scorpio, as we said many times. And then you will look at the configurations on your planet on this day, and you'll say, oh, this is why this is happening. You'll start to understand it. But when we said we wanted you to remind him to listen to recordings, and you didn't do that, he didn't listen either. But he thought it was a mistake, and we're saying it's not. Because what we had him do is go back and find those recordings, because they were 2 years ago, that we said pretty much everything that we're telling you today, but you'll hear it in a different way, because that's how your consciousness expands, you see. But we said it wasn't a mistake, because now when people listen to it, they will understand it. And that's exactly what's happened. Many of you are listening to those recordings and say, wow, now I understand. But you always have the ability to understand, but it takes time for you to do the work. And we say it's work because it is you looking at yourself, which many of you find uncomfortable. And we're saying that that's the best thing that you could do, because then you end up being a being like this who can express himself at 73 years old, who has healed everything. We're saying that intentionally. We keep bringing up his age because you have limitations that exist within your thinking. And when we told him that we had given him, and let's go back when we said in 1988, as we said, he didn't understand what was happening, but he walked through every tragedy, every difficulty that had been built up before. He had that before. It wasn't new, but it was generational again, as all of you have. However, your paths and your timing is just different. That's all. But when you move through yours, then you have something to give to others. That is how evolution occurs. Not everyone will do it. And you're existing in a time now where you're going to see so many others who are not going to have any idea of what we're speaking of, but you do. You have felt something within you that you know you wanted to bring to the world, and you know you wanted to see your world in a different way. You wanted to see the world wars end, and that will happen when you begin to love yourself. And that's all that we've ever done, is give you stuff to constantly move through the blockages that you each have. You each have them, and they're all generational. Again, now with the other night, we throw so many things in, and we're going to get a lot of them in. We had our messenger see revisit the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And you think, why would that have mattered? Well, it was a pivotal moment in his life where it awakened him to something about him, you see, because he was terrified when that happened, because he had put his hopes into John F. Kennedy. He's going to be the savior and bring so much to the world, and now he's shot. What's going to happen? Oh, well, maybe somebody else is supposed to take over, and that's each of you. See, this is what happens. You come into the world at a particular time to take on something that could not have been done before. And we've said it's always your ancestors. And when you look at that, you say, okay, now how can I improve what that was? You're in physical form for a limited time, and you came to make a difference. And that difference is who you are. It is your authentic self. There are none of you who have any less to offer than anyone else. You just make different decisions about that. Everything is energy. No one has more than another. It's just about the manner in which you choose to use it. We gave you something, we've given you many things, and we said focused attention. You all have focused attention. And if you used it in a deliberate way, you could create the lives that you wanted to have, and you would shift your world. When we told Roger that we had given him everything in 2012, and we called it a philosophy, and it's called your life operating instructions, we said it was that because you need to operate differently. You cannot move into the new world or your age of Aquarius or the fifth dimension unless you let go of everything that was old, and it exists within you. And we started him so long ago, well, it's been his entire life, but just to bring you up to speed, so to speak, of where you are now, when we started him talking about racism and misogyny in 2016, it was to lead up to today. Yeah, everything was to lead up to today. And we're saying that because your power exists in this moment. You can only create from this moment of now. This is why we always have you look at things, get the history, the information that your history will give you, the wisdom, and then you take it and you distill it to bring it into something that is of a higher standard, of a higher vibration, and then you individually start to change your life, and then you put that into the world. There's no one who has any more than you. You just have to decide when you're going to do it. When we told you in 2012 that we'd given you this work, and we had to convince our being here that he had it, and he puts people into a program, and then they came out transformed, and he's wondering how that happened. It happened because he decided to own more of who he is. He wasn't done. You're never done. And he has so much to do because he stopped. Just like you did. You all stopped because you think this can't be me. I can't make this much of a difference. And we're saying you can. And that has been our entire work. We've taken his life and we've moved him through every life, every difficulty, every human difficulty, challenge, illness, disease, mental, everything. And he's moved through it because he used the consciousness that we have given him over all of these years to put into this work, which is called your life operating instructions, and we've given you everything. We can say that over and over again. And then you hear people who have done it and they come out and they say, I don't understand what just happened. I've never done anything like this. No, you couldn't have, because it's new. This is what we're saying. You're moving into a new world. We're not giving you anything like the other channelers or any of the people that you have seen, because what we did was we wrote it down in time. We wrote it down using your linear time. This is why we keep repeating messages from 10, 20, 3 years ago. It doesn't matter, because we wanted you to understand that there is a path, a plan in your life that you're following, and we just gave you the steps to uncover it. And once you start doing that, wow, do you change? And then you become who you're meant to be. So we wanted him to see the assassination of JFK, because what it did is it took him back to when he was 13 years old. He had already gone through trauma when he was 12 and started and almost drowned. That's why he developed the fear that he had. And he meant to work through that, which is why we had him write the book, Overcoming Fear. We had him do that in 2019 because we wanted you to understand you would be coming up to the place now where you might be experiencing a little more fear. And when you get over that, you start to love yourself, you see, because you're eternal beings. You don't die, but you have that fear coming up to it. So when he had that reaction, memory of watching that, he knew that he wanted to do something more. He went home, and from that time on, he made a scrapbook, and he kept every single news clipping about John F. Kennedy. He didn't know why he was doing that, but there was an element there that was awakening something within him, which happens for all of you. You will see something, and it awakens a memory that you have, and that memory is of who you were meant to be in this life, because you're all meant to become something. And when you move into that place, you start to prosper. You start to love yourself. You start to love others. You see the world in an entirely new way. And that is the work that we gave you, because we said in our work, the premise of your life operating instructions is this: every soul is born into the world with perfection. Every soul is born with something that they're meant to offer, but you're also born with all the old things that you're meant to move through. That's the reason you had a physical life experience, was to move through all the limitations and restrictions that existed before. But you also have a collective consciousness, and this is what we're speaking of now. And you will notice that when we began giving you this information more specifically in 2020, we kept referring to the collective you, because that is the consciousness that exists globally. All of your humans have that, and you change it when you decide to up-level yours. And then the more of you who do that, you have a collective upliftment, let's say. And this is why we said you're moving through a restructuring, because you have to change the old paradigm. You have to change all the things that didn't work, where you were judging others, where you were putting others down. This has gone on since the beginning of time. But again, we told you in one of our messages, you didn't believe Jesus, you didn't believe Buddha, and you didn't understand Tesla until now, because you're starting to understand that energy and frequency and vibration are what creates everything, and you have access to it to utilize it in your life. And the more of you who do that, you create a very different world. We know that Roger's been called this Pollyanna because he can only see the good, but that is what he can see now, because he's been through all the horrible stuff. He's done all the stuff that you guys are afraid of, and he wants you to understand that you don't have to be. And the more of you who move through that, then you will start to see a very different world. That seems so unbelievable, and it's only unbelievable because of your limited thinking. You have a limited awareness. Now, we'll tell you that it's not going to happen tomorrow, which we've also said, and we can point out to you the astrological, geological, the astronomy of it all. You can see because everything is energy. And when you start to understand that, you will see that you have at least another year of moving through what feels to you to be destruction and chaos. It is not. It's building. And this is why we said that you're building something. We know it looks like everything is falling apart, but you're building something. And we gave you the tools to build your life. That's what we're saying, because the more of you who decide to become happy, and it is a choice, the more of you who decide to own yourselves You put an entirely new energy into the world, and that is all we've ever wanted. But getting you to understand that and believe it was challenging. It was even challenging for our being, because he goes, how could this have happened? How could have I written all of this things years ago? Well, how could he have healed his life? Same question that you each will answer, but it is always within you. You just decide on your journey how much you're going to believe, because it's always self-belief. It's never anything else. But, many of you have picked up this thing, as we've talked about before, your imposter syndrome. You think, I'm not the one to do that, and you are exactly the one to do it, because you're never given any vision, any idea that you can't fulfill. Now, it may not be the ultimate one that you want for your life, but it is there. Our being has gone through so many different career changes and horrible things that he knew he had to shift into this. And he resisted us. You all resist yourself. And that's what we want to say. So this is why we give you guidance. And you will do the same thing for all of those who come later. You come into the physical plane and you will pick up information that's relative to your individual path. And you'll get that in different ways. Some of you will get it from your relatives or teachers or schooling or coach, whatever it is, you're always getting it. But the only thing that's happening is that it's awakening something within you. This is why we keep referring to your spiritual awakening. And we've also said that what is occurring on your planet is more of a spiritual awakening or an evolution, because the more people understand your connectedness to all that is and the inherent right of every single soul to exist, then you start shifting things. But you can see that's not going very quickly because you haven't loved yourself enough. That's all. Because the energy will change when you do. And we've given you all of those messages. You can go back and check all of our messages and see the timing of it and the relevance to your life and what's occurring in your world. This is not a special skill. It's just the one that our being has developed because he's been doing this a long time. You all could if you chose that, but that may not necessarily be your path. Your path is the one you're meant to follow. But what we do is guide you to that because we keep moving you over your doubt and your judgments of what you have lived. We gave you a message in 2012 called Your Story. And we've mentioned this before, but we need you to understand it, especially now, because your world has taken another shift, another energetic shift that's going to look a little different these next few days. You're going to see a little more fighting, a little more arguing and blaming and all of that. It's going to go on. But what you're meant to do is just own who you are, because see, that energy of you loving yourself and going within and doing that will make a tremendous difference, not only just in your life, but in your world. This is what we wanted you to understand. And so when Roger sat down and did this scrapbook of JFK, didn't understand what he was doing, but then it led him to Martin Luther King. See, it was something else that was within that person that awakened something within him. And then this morning we had him see the resurgence of something else that many of you thought that you had put away. It's different for many of you, but it's called the gospel, the spiritual gospel, the social gospel, they call it. It was just an idea of certain people who have these ideas. Some of them come from Christianity, but it's the idea that you have something within you that you know is meaningful, and no matter what, you're not going to stop until you get to it. And you know, if you do that, you're going to give it to your world, and your world becomes better. That's why we had that message on the board, because this is always who our being has been. Now, let's talk about your healing, because you're each moving through that. We're talking about your healing in all regards. You've healed physically, mentally, and emotionally, and ultimately on the soul level. That's what's going on. We've been guiding you to understanding and accepting who you are on that level, because you have a mission. And when you understand that the mistakes you made, the missteps, all of that were perfect, because you accepted that. You accepted that to move through, because once you do, you give it to the collective. It's a challenging concept for many of you to understand, but we want you to kind of get it. You're not in your physical body forever. But while you're here, why not make it fun? Why not love it? Why not decide that you're going to move through all the healing? We've shown you how to do physical healing too, mind-body connection. It's all the same thing, because you do everything through your conscious consciousness, your mindset, how or whatever term you use, but you've come to understand that a lot more. So what we've done is we've given our being here information that brings together, because you need more spirituality in your world now, because that would be the love that would exist within every single soul, and then you would not let people die, and you would not keep killing one another, which is another message that we gave you, because you keep doing wars, and wars, no one ever wins a war, because you're just trying to kill yourselves. That doesn't even make sense, but we know humans keep doing that. But we're going to give you something that eventually more of you will understand and move into a higher understanding of who you are, and so will your war. However, when we took him back to see all the connections, we're doing that to demonstrate to each of you that you have those connections. And what we're loving now, because we know this is happening, and we hope we hear from some of them today, because many of you could not believe what we were saying, but there are many who are doing our program who are finding that out and kind of astonished at what they're discovering about themselves, because you're supposed to. Your life is valuable. Your life means something. It doesn't matter what you did before, none of that. It doesn't even matter what you haven't done, because we're saying you can only act in your moment of now. So what we've always wanted you to do is to mine the genius, the gifts that are within you, because they're stored away. They're just hidden, and they break apart at certain times when your consciousness breaks apart, and then you can access them. And that's what we've been doing. But getting you to believe that, even when we show you someone, and we keep talking about all of his medical things that he's moved through, but still you think, no, that's not possible. We want to keep pointing that out, because what will happen is that you can go back and listen to all of our recordings, and you will hear everything that we've said. We've actually, he received an email today that someone who said that's exactly what they were doing. And it just helped them so much, because what we're doing is we're speaking to your higher self. We have given him information from cosmic consciousness, and it works for all of you. So the reason this happened and why we moved him into this new dimension of who he's meant to be, which we're pushing him further now, because he stopped just like you. He hasn't finished what we've given him. We've given him, which we said when he was writing this, we've given him enough information that he could write textbooks that galore. Because it was everything. Even we'll give you this is a funny story, because we want you to understand it. Because many of you don't believe. We were doing a group call. He was in a group call the other night, and someone said, gee, they were having a problem talking about they were having a difficult time with their cat, because the cat was in distress and might be leaving and all of that. And I said, oh, okay. And they wanted Roger to maybe channel us, bring us in, and that is he can't do right in a moment like that. But he can know. He has recall. He says, yeah, I have a message for you. And he goes and he finds our message and reads it to this person, and brought them such understanding. Many of you have done that, and you've seen it, and you've seen him do it, because we've given you everything. Getting you to believe that is another story, however. Getting him to believe it was another one as well, because he had accumulated it all. He didn't know why he was saving every message that we had given him since 1988, that it was going to turn into a philosophy, that it was going to turn into a new way of being, but that's exactly what we've done. Because what we wanted is to see a different world, you see, because if each of you decided to love yourself and to become the best person you could be, to prosper, to allow the abundance to come into your life, then you change the world. We said this time is about the change of the abundance, and you're seeing much of that happening. Even though we told you many years ago, you're finally seeing it happen when you had the different strikes, and people held out, and all of a sudden, then it came through. We're talking about the U.S. now. It's happened everywhere, but we're specifically referring to the U.S. because, as we said, the United States would lead the way in this restructuring, because all of you are looking to this country to see what is going on. And when this one person, a leader of the union for the auto workers, because that's what we wanted to talk about, he had this faith that he could do this. And it was beyond, we don't use a religious faith. He used his. What we just say the faith that we want you to have is in yourself, you see. And however you connect that, many of you will connect it to God, and that's where our being grew up. So that would be his orientation. But he also knows that many of you have others. And so you're supposed to own the part that gives you the most feeling of your connectedness to all that is. We like using that term because that's what each of you belong to. And as you understand the energy that you can create by honoring and moving there, wow, you'll see a very different world. Now, we've given you we don't give you predictions because we can't, because it all depends on what you do. We can give you the information. We can show you where everything is moving, and you will have to take the action. But most times you sit and wait because you have the doubt, which is why we wanted to move you beyond that, and which is why we waited until today to reveal to you the full picture of what we have done. In 2021, when we told him we've given you everything you needed to know in 2012, he goes, that doesn't make sense, and he doubted it as well. And then he finds the evidence of it on his computer. You all do that. You find evidence of things, and then you still doubt. So we had to take him through moving through his particular doubts to see that this is exactly what was happening. And then he goes, well, why 2012? He had no memory of that until we took him back to see the message that we gave him on December 21st, 2012, because many of you in your world thought that the world was going to end. You were getting rid of things because it was going to be over. We said that is not what's happening. First of all, it's never over because you're never dying, but it just feels that way to you at times. And so what we said, no, you're building something new, and it's just going to take a little while. So since 2012, that was the big shift that happened then. There were other periods that things have happened, but we're just using these terms now so you can understand them and put them into context. And so from 2012, every single day, we're giving you messages that changed your brain, that changed your mind to understanding who you could become, that cause you to let go a little more of your doubt, a little more of your judgment, a little more of your fear, because you do it at different times. And we're saying that because we know that anyone who would listen to us, who would be here, or who would listen to this later, you are the ones who came to change your planet. That's all that it is. Others will not understand any of that you do because you feel it viscerally. You feel it in your bodies, and that's the bodies. Let's talk about that. Many of you have had some major physical things happening in your bodies. That's because there's so much energy that is occurring that's moving through to get you to up-level who you are. Even the energetic changes that are happening with all of your weather events, which we've spoken of before, are causing you to awaken. You have the ability in your consciousness to transcend any condition on the physical plane. It's just when you decide how much you're going to use and when you're going to do it. That's all that it is. However, today is a very pivotal time because the energies that have come together, there's all these planetary configurations now that are causing all sorts of things to come up. You're going to see some people who are going to be really angry, who are going to be just pissed off of what's happening. And then others who will have a different sense of awareness to say, no, we're going to move in a new direction. That's what we wanted you to do. That's why we planned this. We wanted you to love yourself. There's nothing that's more powerful than that. When you start understanding, and this is being proven now with your scientists, so we're very pleased, when you understand the quality of the energy of love and how much that's a higher vibration of energy, then you create something quite different. We said this period in your world is about creating something that is more sustainable for all of you, and it can only come through each of you. That's what happens. And the way that it turns out depends on what each of you choose to do in your every moment of now, because it's a daily thing. You don't get there right away. And so when we said that we gave you all of this information, we also gave our being an idea. We said, no, just create something more. Call it your last development program. Because we know that if you go through this work, you wouldn't need to do anything else because you're working with yourself. You're working with your mind instead of running around trying to figure out where it is out in all these other places. And we understand that because our being did that as well. You're never to judge yourself for having done that because whatever path you took was allowing you to access that wisdom that is within you. And this is what we have given you. Now, we want you to understand why we took him back to JFK's assassination, because there were certain things that occurred there. This is why we talked about all the different photos and that message that we gave you, seeing the connection of races and different parties and all that. It's never about any of that. It's about energy. But you only understand that over time in your civilization. And only a certain portion of the population of the civilization will decide that they're going to embrace that higher aspect of who they are to contribute to your world. And that's how you change things. However, as we've said often, this is a big one, and none of you have done it. That's why it seems challenging. And so, but now we're going to move things forward. This is why this day is going to be the biggest shift, because we have to move our being. He's been holding back and not getting himself out there as much and doing certain other things. We even gave him something that we wanted you to have, and we will have it done because we want you to see how you progress. We've used dates. We've given you messages on particular dates. We thought that would be fun, actually, and that you would kind of put the puzzle pieces together. And one day we said, oh, go look at every message that we gave you over the last several years since 2012 on this particular day. And then when you read them all together, you end up at the end of it going, wow, I feel better. You all have the ability to do that. We just organized it so you can do it in a way that causes you to accelerate the ascension process within you, the evolvement that is meant to occur within you. And that's when you come to love. And when you get to that place, you move through your fear. You don't have the doubt. And you start to enjoy yourself. There's nothing better than that. And you start to create something different in your world. And that's what we wanted. So what you're going to see in the next few weeks is a little more disruption, and it's going to be throughout the year, however. But when you get through 2024, and it's going to change, and the way that it feels to you depends on how you operate with yourself. What we're saying is the energies are going to keep moving, and what happens is you get through them better when you decide to work through your own limitations, your own doubts, your own fear, and it's a gradual process, which is why we've laid our work that way. Now, we've gone on so much, but we're going to want to open for questions. And we'd love to hear from any of those who are doing our work. We want to get any kind of feedback, but we want to answer more because this is such a powerful time, and you have the ability in this moment to use this energy for the next several days anyway, to really propel your lives forward. And once you do that, you will see the effects of that in your world, we promise. Okay.
All right. The Q&A portion is now open. The Q&A button is now active. If you have a question, click on the Q&A button and ask your question there. I will ask Wilhelm on your behalf, and any questions that are in the chat, unfortunately, will not be asked, just so that we can keep track of time. So please use the Q&A button. If you are able to ask your question in the Q&A before it closes, we will answer it. Wilhelm will answer it even if we go over time. Questions are already pouring in, and please keep them coming. But we begin with, if I can move my windows around, this question here. I have an addictive personality. It started with food, then cigarettes, and now wine. I secretly drink a bottle most evenings. I feel shame, guilt, and powerlessness. I believe that if I could stop this, then I could be more of my new authentic self. I know I have so much to offer the world, but I feel it is a thorn in my side that won't go away. Is this a coping mechanism my ego has created, or is this a designed and wanted experience for my soul? Please, could you give me some advice and tools to deal with this unwanted behavior? Sending you so much love.
We wish we could answer that question, but you just did, because all of that was absolutely true. You know that it's a coping mechanism. I mean, our being did the same thing. He went through all that stuff. He smoked, he drank, he used drugs when he was young. He did all those things because he was blocking off who he was, you see. Many of you think that your addictions are coming from some other source, but many times, it can be hereditary. You can have all that, but most times what you're doing is that you're blocking the next evolution of who you are. And that's what you're doing. So what we want you to do is start asking yourself, how do you feel? How do you think of yourself when you're performing those particular activities, when you're indulging in them? How do they feel to you? What are you thinking about yourself? See, because that's the only thing that matters. Even if you're doing some particular addiction that you enjoy, we've also given you information about that. Some things you might be addicted to that you enjoy, and they may not be harmful to you, but they still feel like an addiction. But the things that you know are holding you back from becoming yourself, then you have to figure out a way to move beyond them. And we will tell you that every single time, the way that you move beyond them is by deciding how you feel about yourself. Because you know what's occurring when you're doing something, when you're smoking, for instance. That's what our messenger, he went through that. And we said, you're hiding out. You're keeping separation from others because you're not loving who you are. And that's what's going on for you. And we're so grateful that you're doing it now, because you've moved into this other part of your evolutionary journey that you're going to start putting this together. Please be patient with yourself, because these are habits you've done for a while. So it'll take a little bit of time. But you have opened up to this higher dimension of who you are, and you're going to help so many others when you understand why you had this journey, because yes, it was part of your soul journey. And thank you for that question.
I have received downloads, images and movies of me in another life. How can I narrow the gap between the reality I'm currently living and the reality that I see in these downloads and that I know that I am meant to live?
Again, you've just answered the question, because you start to believe that they are not accidental. We gave our messenger a dream. Well, he had the dream, but your higher self are always directing all of it. We gave him a dream in 2005 that he's only deciding to do today. You see, that's what happens sometimes. So when you start to merge them together and know that there's no separation, you exist in consciousness, and that consciousness takes different dimensions. When you dream at night, you're visiting a different realm of consciousness. This is why many of you might do plant medicine and other kinds of drugs to get you to experience that other dimension. And again, as we said, when we're speaking to our being, he's in that dimension already, so he doesn't need to use those things now, but he did to break through. So you might be doing that as well. And so now what you're going to do is start to bring together those dream states, because that's the visions that you're having, and start to figure out, how am I supposed to use this in my 3D life? How am I supposed to use that information that's coming to me, because it is being directed and given to you? Now, how am I going to use that now to propel my life forward? And start questioning it, because we can feel that you're thinking this is strange and all of that because it's new and it's coming up, but that's because you let go of something else, and now you're having you can see beyond the veil, so to speak, as many of you have thought of, and that's what begins to happen, and that will be happening for many of you during this period of change in your world. Thank you.
After I became very emotional and didn't want to fight anymore, I was offered a job in a country where I wanted to move. I actually don't want to be employed again, but want to relaunch my business. However, it felt like a good way to move to a new country with this job and relaunch my business on the side. I am uncertain whether this is my current path of least resistance, or if it's my ego hesitating to fully commit to my business and entrusting my financial situation to the universe. If this is my current path of least resistance, why is it suddenly so difficult to set an appointment with the person who offered me the job?
Why do you think we have you here today? Because you're looking at a being he was told years ago, take the path of least resistance, which meant doing the work that he's doing. Now, he didn't do it. You didn't do it either. But what you did, you set out something. You said the country that you wanted to move to, and now that happened. So you've been presented with the opportunity to go there. That came because of you. You're not limited in anything else. If you want to build your business again, then do that. You can do both things at the same time. You can do all of it. But you've been granted the wish that you had of moving to this other country. And now start to formulate how you want that to unfold. You don't have to be stuck at a particular position or job that is not serving you, but you can use it to further you to go to that next level, because you're always doing different dimensions. As we said, we've talked about this often. He's gone through, our being has gone through many different careers, and then we had to force him to let go of the old one so that he could be here now. You're doing it willingly, so we're very proud of you. So appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for that question. And just letting you all know that the Q&A button is now deactivated. We have more than enough questions to carry us through the rest of the hour, and we might even go a little bit over. Just to remind you. Yes.
What's going to happen?
And just to remind you, if you did ask your question, it will be answered. If you were unable to get your question asked, please bring it to the next channeling session. And here we go. Greetings, Wilhelm and way showers. I've noticed recently the synchronicity and signs about expanding my abundance and money. But I feel like these messages about expanding my abundance and money are intentional and are trying to tell me something. I'm a little confused because not too long ago, I got messages saying, don't focus on money and just be. Can you elaborate for me?
Okay. Yes, because first of all, many of you have this idea about money because it's been programmed into you that it's a bad thing and you shouldn't have it. Or especially if you're a spiritual person, our being has that too. That you shouldn't ask for the money. You're not understanding your importance. Everything is energy, including money. And you must understand this is why we said we wanted you to choose love. When you choose love, you choose yourself. And when you choose that energy, you allow the abundance of money to come through. We've spoken of this often because our being has cut off his money because he wouldn't allow this to happen. And that's what he's changing now, which all of you will have to change, because we said that this particular period is about shifting the financial industry completely. And you can't do that until you start to embrace who you are. And many of you have this disconnection, especially if you're doing something that feels spiritual or of a different, and this is what needs to come into your world now. This is why you're here. And the energy, and we want you to understand it is energy, because you have to let go of the old stuff. You all have this programming from your childhood. Your parents told you, save, don't waste, all those things that get embedded in you, and you start associating that you don't deserve it and you are not going to allow it to come to you. This is the paradigm shift that you're moving through now, where you must remove that and understand that everything should have everything. You should have all the money. You should have all the happiness, all the love, but you have to work through it on the cognitive level and break through the particular limitations that are part of your soul journey. And you are right in the place, because we feel it, the way that you framed that. But now all we wanted to do is take away that old idea that someone told you that you shouldn't focus on the money. You should, because it's energy. Focus on the energy of the money and know that it is you that you're focusing on, and that is love. Thank you.
Why is there a snake on my floor in the shape of a circle, like the Ouroboros ancient symbol?
Yeah. See, this is the kind of thing that why it's there, because you couldn't have asked the question. And so we can't interfere with your interpretation, because your higher self is giving you a signal. Nothing happens in your life accidentally. And you're seeing that, and we can feel it. We're not going to tell you, because you're looking at that shape and you're saying, oh, it means this. I think it's trying to get me to look at this. And you're doing that, but you haven't accepted it yet. And that's what we want you to do, because we can't interpret your dream, because then you won't believe it. You have to believe it. And it's being shown to you now, but we're glad we reinforced you now that you can look at it in a new way, and you will accept it. Thank you.
A while back, I received a health protocol from another channeler about how to heal my body. I have been trying to follow through with the liver cleanse part of it. I believe I have some fear around completing this. Can you guide me on how to avoid and overcome this? Also, is the health protocol I'm referring to a good fit for me?
The health protocol is always going to be whatever is aligned with you spiritually and you feel alignment. Many of you will use certain things. You'll use supplements or different kinds of modalities, but ultimately you must understand everything is mental. Everything is in your consciousness, and it's always about you coming to understanding that, but you each will do it in different ways. Our being has used every kind of physical thing. He's gone through so many hospitalizations and all that. He needs none of that now, because he kept moving into who he was. And so, but it's going to be different for each of you. And so the liver, there's something that you just haven't accepted yet, but you just have to keep, is it right for you? You have to own this. If you are using something, a product or something, and if that thought that you have is saying, this is in alignment with me, and I know that it's helping me move through this emotional block, and that emotional block is going to eventually start to heal the physical things that are going on in my body. That would be the approach that we would advise you to begin to take, because you have to understand that no matter what you use in the physical level, it takes your consciousness to cause it to take effect and then produce the results in your life. Thank you.
Hi, Wilhelm. I'm going through shadow work and healing processes right now, and I'm stuck on how to heal my lower back and my left knee. Also, these two pain points don't allow me to be consistent with my exercise. I have meditated and I have thought that I have healed it, and the pain comes back. How can I heal these pains for good? Thank you, Wilhelm and Roger.
We feel that you are moving through issues of support. Your back and your knees are all about support. It's about standing in your own power. walking forward in who you're supposed to be, walking forward into it within your truth. Now, you can use all sorts of things. We had our being read something because you get information from different people, and then you can start to put it together. He's had many of them, but Dr. John Sarno, which we might have mentioned before, brilliant man. He said, heal your back pain, and we would advise you how to heal back pain. And so we would advise you to begin there. And then he has another one called the divided mind. So you each start to figure out things in your society about how you can accomplish things, and then you pass that on to others. And that's what Dr. John Sarno has done. But many people have not even heard of him because you prefer to go to chiropractors. And so because you haven't broken down that myth. Our being used to live at the chiropractor. We've given you that story. He doesn't see any of that anymore, but he had to read that book many, many times because he had to change his brain. That was old programming. And he saw his father with a bad back and said, oh, that must be me. Maybe it's hereditary. It is never that. It's about you changing. But for you, again, we're feeling very strongly that there's some emotional support issue that you need to have, and we want you to give it to yourself. And as you start doing that, you're going to start to see things change. And please read the book. We know that that's going to help you because it's going to address both problems, your back and your knees, and probably a few other things as well. Thank you.
Will I receive an investor for my project this week? I have a person in mind with the initials BG from Cleveland. Is that going to be the person that will be the one? Many synchronized events and passions with this person.
Okay, we love this so much because we're going to tell we're not psychic. We're never going to give you information like that, but we will tell you if it's right for your highest good, if it's right for your evolutionary path. Yes, that will happen. But first, you have to decide what you want. See, when you decide what you want, the universe will guide you. However you think of it, you will be guided to that place. Things will magically start to open for you. But you have to first make the decision of what you want and what you feel. Now, that could change because you may be going in one direction and the universe says, no, we have something bigger for you. We want you to go over here. But for right now, you have to start to really hone in on what it is that you want. If you want this person like that, maybe it's someone else. Don't limit yourself, because that's the other thing we're feeling too, that you're depending on this one particular thing to happen. And we feel that you need to open it up to understanding that what you're creating is your vision, and allow whoever to come in, and don't limit it to one person. But if that person becomes what it is, it will unfold for you because you'll be walking the path of your blueprint, your soul path. And that's what we want for all of you. Thank you.
Moving on to the next question. In the last few weeks, I've occasionally woken up around 3:30 a.m. and usually went back to sleep. A few days ago, I woke up again and did a short meditation to connect with higher frequency energy or the collective. I felt like I connected to different entities or energies. When I asked for a name to call one of them, I received the name Dominic in my mind with the origin of Andromeda. Did I really connect to a higher frequency energy, or was it just my mind playing tricks? I understand that there is nothing outside of myself, but since the ego is a part of me, I wonder if this was an ego response.
We love you guys so much because your mind is never playing tricks on you. It just depends on when you're going to believe it. Yes, that was in connection. And we told you when our being he wrote the dream. And that's just, you have the dreams. First of all, many of you will awaken at those hours because that's when you have greater access to cosmic awareness, because you're not in your normal waking state where your consciousness is just going all over the place. So this is when they can get your attention, so to speak. This is what we gave our being his dream at 4:30 in the morning. It was so uncomfortable. And we've done that many, many a times, and we've written about that. But yes, that was you connecting. We want you to look up the name Dominic, but we want you to go back to ancient texts and try to find the name Dominic, and you're going to find something that's going to give you some other information about what this name and what that being meant. Even if you just look up the meaning of the name, it's going to tell you something, and it's going to clue you in to more of your path on this earth plane, on this lifetime. That's what's going to happen. But your mind is not playing tricks on you. It's just waiting for you to accept the guidance and then to move on it. Thank you.
After the last two very successful sessions with my clients this week, I felt a nervousness in my chest, and today I feel an even stronger nervousness all over my body, a kind of indescribable fear. I had the feeling that I was getting over it, but again, the fears are coming back, and I cannot associate them with any situation or person. The fear is simply there, and a very strange feeling in my stomach. Even after meditation and a walk in nature, it is still there. Any advice on how to process this, even though I have been working on it for some time? Thank you very much.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. We just want you to accept it. See, because what's happened on your path, you you're afraid of this next level. We can feel that because you worked with your clients and you've done so much with them and you've moved to this other place, but you're not done. And so there's another level that you're attempting to move to and you're afraid of it. And that's why you're feeling it in your body. This is what many of you are going to have. That's why we brought that up, of the things that might be occurring in your body. You're moving into a higher dimension of your being so that you can help others, so that you can guide your clients to that next space. So now you're going to know what that feels like, so you will be able to aid them. And please stop judging yourself that you haven't gotten through it. This is the other thing that happens with so many of you. You think you're supposed to be there. You should have handled it. You're never there. You're going to keep going. We told you our being, we have to push him again because he's not done. None of you are. But you get afraid of taking that next step. But the other thing we want to say, you're judging yourself because you're still having these feelings because you thought you should be done with them. You are not. All we want you to do, please, just let go of your self-judgment. And as you're doing your walking, as you're doing all of that, keep forgiving yourself. Just keep, I mean, if you can't do anything else, use the Ho'oponopono chant, thank you, I love you, please forgive me, just keep doing that over and over again. You'll get a new sense of awareness. That's all. But no, you're being awakened to something, and that's what's frightening, because you have a big purpose that you're beginning to that's unfolding now. So, and thank you for doing it. Okay.
Thank you for that. And I normally don't do this, but in the chat, we just had a comment about wondering of how many of us are together here. And right now in this sacred space, in our little collective, we've got just over 40 of us in this space. So I feel that this is important for us to draw in our collective energies, just in case you were wondering just how many of us are in here receiving this wisdom. So moving on to the next question. Why am I in so much pain?
We don't know what the pain is, but it doesn't matter. Pain is always a resistance. So it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be mental. We've taken you through all of them. We've taken our being through all of them. And so you're going to figure out where it is for you. And we feel that it may be a little more physical at this point, but then you will relate that to what's going on to you emotionally and spiritually, because that's what's happening here. And so you said so much, and it feels like there's this big holding back, resistance of your next step and where you're meant to go. And just ask the question, what is that? What am I meant to do next? And just be open for the answer. And don't judge yourself. Just be open for the answer, and you'll start to get more guidance as to what the next step is for you. That's what we're feeling here. But we're going to speak about this because we're going to speak about the lovely Colin. We don't know if he's here, but we're just going to use him because we've used him so much because he's a perfect example. He was moving through so many things the other day, emotionally, mentally, physically, couldn't figure it out. We said, please go. If you can't figure it out, go get checked out. Go to the hospital. Go do this. And then he went, and then he came out and the next day and he goes, well, they couldn't find anything. They did the scans. Nothing was there. And we said, yes, now you're going to work on your soul. You see, because sometimes you will get so caught up in resisting yourselves, and then you hold back and you can't understand the next level, the next step you're meant to take in your soul development. That's all. But we would advise you, if you're in physical pain and you can't figure it out, get it checked out and see what's going on. Otherwise, then you're going to know, okay, now I have to come back to working on my mental state, my emotional state. We had our beings find something. We're going to talk about so much of this because we said the universe is mental. And that is a concept that's been around since the beginning of time. And we've told you that much of our work follows a lot of the Hermetic principles, and you can see some of that with everything that we've done, because we just brought that work forward for you to use in this everyday now life. But when you understand that everything that is occurring in your physical life form is mental, then you can get a hold of it, and that affects everything that goes on in your physical body, your mental, your spiritual. That's what might be going on for you. But we feel that there's just another level for you to accept and move into it and understand that it's occurring in your mental body first. Thank you.
And just to bring this into the space, we are at time. However, we have 10 more questions to answer, so we will be going over time. If you have to leave now, we understand. The replay will be available. But if you are able to hang with us until we answer all of the questions, we would love to have your energy in this space. The next question: will I get any professional notice from the show on November 26th or Sarah's show in December? Thank you.
No. Because you're downing it. You're trying to control something, and we're not psychics. We can't tell you that. However, if it is aligned for you, we want more of you to start to understand this. We're going to give you something. Okay. When our being first started receiving us, he was asking very specific questions. Is this going to happen? How can I do? What is that going to? And we said, why are you controlling things? And instead of allowing the universe to guide you in the direction that's going to be the best for your life. And so then he's changed and he said, okay, any advice for today? Just tell me what I need to know. That's all. And that's what we want you to do as well. Because see, you're trying to figure out, is it going to be that? Open up to what is going to be for your highest good, because you each have that. But then because you've lost control of yourselves, it feels like you try to control those results instead of going for something more. And this is the main point that we wanted you all to understand about this particular time in your world. If you can expand your consciousness, you could change this world in magnificent ways, because you would change your life. And that's why you are here. So stop controlling it. Just be open for what is right for you. Be to the alignment that is within you. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, in today's message, you said that our beloved Roger's purpose is to help us find ours. Can you assist me in knowing my purpose, please? Thank you.
It's you. This is the part that's so challenging for all of you, because it's a process that you use throughout your entire life, and your physical in this particular lifetime. It's about taking the next step and uncovering who you are. And so we're saying that because our being had to take all of those steps, and he's understood it and he thought it all the way, so now he can give to others. That's why we said this is his purpose, and this is why he's so passionate about it, because he doesn't like to see people struggle and suffer. But he does understand that you need to take the steps, and it's a gradual step that you take each and every day. And when you have a system to do it, then you get there. So your purpose is who you are. You can't see it all the time because you've blocked it off. And that is the process of seeing through the veil. And it's kind of like peeling the onion. You can think of it in that way. And so just know that it is unfolding. And also we will say that it is before you, but you're not believing it. And so don't worry about that, because you will start to break it down, because otherwise you couldn't have asked the question. You think that's not there, or you don't have it, but you all do. But you also have blockages that doesn't allow you to see it instantly, which is why others can see it typically before you do. You're on your path, so we'll get you there. Thank you.
What can we do to tangibly help those areas in the world that need more light, such as suffering and wars currently in the Middle East, Ukraine, and other places?
Thank you so much for that, because we said this 2 years ago, but you wouldn't have heard it, and you wouldn't have understood it. As we said, you can't go to Ukraine. That's not your job. And at this point, you're probably not going to go to Israel or Gaza. You're not going to do any of those things. But what you can do is do what you can, and that is to love yourself. You don't understand how important you are and how important your energy is. See, because each of you have something, and the more of you who decide to do that, you create this collective energy that changes worlds. It's a concept that is very difficult for most to understand, but it is doable. Let's say the more, because we're on a mission. We set our being on a mission because we know that the more of you who decide to love yourself, who decide to own your purpose, that you will start to change your world. Now, but don't feel guilty that you can't go over there, that you can't go, but you're just understand. And this is the main thing that we wanted all of you. Our entire reason for bringing in this work for this period was so that you would understand that if you were to, the most powerful thing that you can do is to love who you are. And that is an individual choice. And you do it every day. And that is moving through your judgment, your self-doubt, your fear, and all of that, and your anger and your hatred, because that's within all of you. And so this is what we wanted to move through each of you, move out of each of you for you to move over it. And then you will start to see that reflected in your world. It will get there. Thank you.
I believe that I have had a transformation just recently. It's hard to fully tell. Has this actually occurred? Sometimes I'm not sure because I have not seen the outward expression of this yet.
Yes. Thank you for noticing. See, because most people wouldn't even acknowledge that, because sometimes you just feel strange. You just feel, I'm different. I don't know what's happening. You're evolving in your consciousness. You have a soul journey, and you actualize that through your consciousness. But because of what's happening in your world, there's so many energies that are occurring for all of you. So you're being moved. Not all of you will access them in certain ways, but that tells us that you have shifted into that next dimension of who you're supposed to become, and be comfortable with that. We said there are cycles that you will move through and levels, and you have to become comfortable with that. In other words, allow it to integrate into who you are, and then you'll go to more. But yes, that did occur. Thank you.
Will I ever return to my home with my family? I was put out, although I am a good person. But one of the three of us is controlling and wants things their own way. I just want to know if I'll go back to them to heal our relationship before the end of this lifetime. Blessings to all, love to Roger's team and Wilhelm.
You have to decide what you want. Let's talk about this. Many of you might find yourself feels to you like you're being put out. That never happens, by the way, or that you're splitting apart from those. No, what you're doing is that you're beginning to own your authentic self and your sovereignty and your particular life journey. That does not always remain the same, even with your blood relatives. This is why we've given you so many messages on that, because many of you are judging yourselves when you find you're not in alignment with your parents, your siblings, your relative, whatever it might be, because you're supposed to have an individual journey. Your DNA is different than everyone else. And so if that is going to serve you, then it will come up. But we want you to, and we gave you a message about this, and it's coming up tomorrow. We can jump ahead. We know what this is. And we said, the message is this, well, it's not going to be the same tomorrow, but we'll tell you what we gave you 3 years ago on that day tomorrow. And it said, if you love them, you will heal. You see, we want you to think about that and really go, if you love them, you will heal. And so when you take away the judgment or whatever you're thinking about them, that will be the healing for you. If it turns out that you're all supposed to be back together, then that will occur, because you can't control their experience. You can only control yours. And your experience is to love who you are, and just know that whatever's supposed to show up for your path will do so. And in perfect timing, by the way. Thank you.
I want to support my son in letting go of his victim mentality, which he has been embodying for years. He's turning 12 tomorrow. I believe this all started when he experienced bullying at a school a few years ago, or maybe even earlier. Do you have any advice for how to support him through this earthly experience?
Yes, and you have the information, and we want you to do this. We need you to talk to him. We need you to talk to him about that very thing. Have these conversations, because he has an awareness. We're going to say this because you probably have felt it. He's a little more mature in his age, in his 12 years, and so he's having a little difficult time, and this is why he was bullied as well, because others can see this. So what we want you to do is just sit and have these really wonderful, heartfelt conversations. How did that feel? Why do you think they did this? Why do you think they said that? Whatever it is, and then just keep talking. Give him permission to speak about what he is feeling, because his soul is moving into another aspect of who he's meant to become. And others around him are not seeing that and not understanding, and this is why they're bullying him, and this is why they're coming up. So you can do so much just by having these heartfelt conversations and about how he's feeling, and support him on this journey, because he will move through this, and eventually those bullies will start to understand and accept who he is and his soul on his soul journey. So thank you.
Is anger my favorite fear? Will it ever leave?
If you decide to, the anger is something that you're denying within yourself. You all have anger, and you're going to have a lot of it during this time. And this is what we wanted you to understand. We've given you so many messages on anger because it's old. When you're having an experience of anger, it's because of some frustration that you're feeling within yourself, something that you can't change, or you don't believe you have the ability to change, or someone else is doing something, you're angry at them. It doesn't matter. You're just trying to figure out how you can transcend that anger and eradicate it from your body. But we want to say this. Sometimes you don't know where it's coming from because it is old, things that you've done in your past when you were a kid or whatever, but it could be from other lifetimes. And we know that concept is challenging for many of you, but just understand energy. You carry it through all of your ancestry, through your DNA. And so if you don't release it now, which is what we have been attempting to get more of you to do, because that's what this entire period in your world is about. That's why you're seeing so much anger. We wanted you to release it from you. And so when you start to accept, when you start to notice, when you have those periods, ask yourself why you're angry. What is causing me to feel angry in this moment? And we want you to give yourself enough time. You're not going to act on it. We want you to give yourself enough time to ask the question, sit down and think about it as long as it takes, and then write down the answer that you get. And if you do this enough, you're going to make some brilliant progress. And we love that. So you're coming upon something that you've been blocking within yourself. And as you understand this, you're gonna start to dissipate that anger so much. We our being Ken, it's challenging for him he gets upset, he has passion, but he can't feel that anger anymore. And that's a wonderful place to be. Thank you.
I feel I am on the correct path to realize my purpose in this life. However, my frustration is that I am struggling financially, which means I may have to divert my energy towards something that has nothing to do with the work that I am trying to do out in this world.
Don't judge yourself. Do what it takes. Okay. Again, we're going to go back to this because our being's done the same thing. We've told you he's used money to hold himself back forever because he couldn't take the next step into allowing this to come through, because it was so unbelievable to him that he'd even done it. You might be having the same thing, but don't worry. You've made a choice to move in this new direction. It's going to take some time. If you have to do something else to earn the income to support yourself, because you have to live in the 3D world and you have to do that, don't judge it. Just know, keep it. We want you to keep this in mind, that what you're doing is that you're forming a bridge to the next place of where you're going. But you have to let go of the judgment, because there's something that was within you that you withheld for a while, but now it's coming about. This is happening for many of you during this time. But this is why we don't want you to judge yourself. We just want you to take the next step. That's all. And so as you do that, the money will start to flow. But keep focused on the thing that you want to do, and just know that what you have to do now is this temporary thing that you need to support yourself to live in this physical world. That's okay. But you just keep envisioning the real thing. We told you we had our being sit down and write down this mission of what he was going to do now. And that was in 2016. So just start doing it now. Thank you.
Dear Wilhelm, in a few weeks, I'm having an interview for a better position at my workplace. I know the position is mine if it is my divine right. What are the potentials that I have achieved that new position at work?
What are the potentials?
What are the potentials?
Yes. All of them. You have all of them. Okay. You said you know everything. You said it all because you said it is yours if it's part of your divine plan. That is the best thing to hold on to. But now we want you to access your potential, because we love that you said that. See, you all have it. You have unlimited potential, but you will only access and allow a certain part of it to come in at a certain time because you work through linear time in your lives. However, as you start to accept that more and more, then that right position will come up just as you said. And you know all of this. But what we want you to do now, which will cause it to manifest in the manner that will serve you, is start to assess the potential that you hold. We need you to own it. We need you to recognize it. We need you to write it down so that you can see it, because all of you forget what you've done to be able to move to this next position. And we need you to own it. When you get that ownership, it's going to just explode. And if that's the right position, as you said, it will be there. And if not, guess what? It'll be something bigger. But we need you to assess your potential now, because potential is only that. It's an idea. And nothing occurs until you begin to act on it. But your first step will be to assess all you are and what you've accomplished that you're bringing to this new position, or the one that's better even than this. Thank you.
And we have arrived at our final question for the session. And here it is. I suffer from OCD, and I know it is fear-based, and I was told that it is hereditary karma. It has limited me extremely, and it made me virtually stuck in life. Do you have advice for starting to overcome this affliction? Love and blessings.
Yes, talk to Howie Mandel. Follow Howie. You each will have certain kinds of what you call conditions, and they are serving some purpose when you understand them, because when you understand why you have it, it's part of your DNA, then you figure that out and you present something to someone else. And this is why we're talking about Howie, because that's what he's done. He suffered from it for years, and he wanted to talk about it. He wanted to explain. He wanted to get his own understanding, and you will do the same thing. And so, and it doesn't have to hold you back. We've told you that our being, he discovered when he was 70 years old that he had ADHD, and he went through this judgment about it until he discovered, oh, wait a minute, that was a really good thing, because he couldn't accept all of our information. If he had been oriented in the way that many others were in this life, he wouldn't have been able to do what is happening now. And so you have a reason that you have this particular condition. This is what we've said to all of you. There are no conditions that you are given that do not have meaning and value for you in your life, in your evolutionary journey, and also that you can then give to others when you figure out why you have it. That's all. But we also want you to stop judging it. We want you to stop judging yourself that you couldn't get over, that you couldn't change it. We need you to let go of that, because otherwise the information and the wisdom that's going to come to you, you'll block it. So just let go, love yourself more, and just take the step to just discover this and do some research to see what is the reason, what could it be? And it will be aligned to something within you, and you will find that information. Thank you so much. Okay. We're going to end with this, and we're grateful for all of you that are here. We want to explain all of this, why we've done this and why we've done everything. We have given our being everything that you needed to know to change your life, to manifest a life that you want to know. We know that it works because it's worked on him and it's worked on so many others. The only problem is your belief, your self-belief, and that is so important in this world now. The thing that we've wanted always to connect each of you to is your importance, because it's an energetic thing. When you understand how your world is created energetically, you will see that your importance is there. We gave you something again that we called your story, and we want everyone to understand. There's a main work of our program is to get you to understand that your story is unique and valuable, because no other soul shares precisely your story. It contains everything that has ever happened to you, everything you have ever done, every word, every person you've ever met. All of it's perfect. All you have to do is figure out the perfection of your story. And any parts that you judge or put away or deny and think they're not worth it, then you're refusing to accept the wisdom and knowledge that is within your story. This is why you were born, and this is why we wanted you to choose love, because then you would be choosing yourself. We love you so very much, and thank you for being here.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much for being here in today's session. As Roger chilled out a little bit here. And like I said before, if you did not get a chance to ask your question, please bring it to the next session. and we will answer it for you there. We also appreciate your love and your patience and your support as we went way over, way over the intended time. And Wilhelm did warn us, and this was not intentional, but as he often says, as they often say, there are no accidents. If you do feel called to continue your journey through your own development, through your own actualization, through discovering your own potential with Roger, with Wilhelm, with myself and the team, just inviting you, if you feel called, to follow us at 4weekstoyourbestlife.com. And yeah, there is no pressure. When you feel that it is right for you, it will find you. And we hope to do work with you personally as we spread our love and our light through the rest of the world, and to uplift the world, up-level the world as we up-level ourselves. Once again, Wayshowers, thank you so much. And we await your energy in the next channeling session. Until then, be well, be safe, and you are loved and you are cared for. Bye-bye, everyone.
I find this work is very powerful. They change a lot very quickly. It's like quite surprising how things are changing for me.
I want to say how grateful I am that you've done this. And the time that you've put through on this is just amazing. And as we get older and we put through something like this into the world, you don't know the benefits of it until years later.
I just want to thank you for the program. Probably a year or two ago, if there was a tough decision to make, especially about money or anything like that, I would let fear and worry guide me away from a decision that might have helped me grow.
I have moved. I have made some positive changes. Hey, good, bad, or ugly, you did it. That's the main thing.
When you say the time is now, and I always appreciate it, because now more than ever, I feel a little bit more satisfied myself, because especially lately, I keep leaving a project not finished.
I love the program. I love the questions, but I think that being aware of everything that's inside of you and bringing it out onto paper, it really does make you step forward in that area.
The way the questions penetrate into your memory and into your past experiences is so unique. Yeah, it really goes deep very, very quickly. I mean, I'm only on day 3, but the way like the questions are presented and the things you read before and the whole steps you go through, probably a lot of people's experiences, but it goes really deep, really, really quickly.
I mean, every day has its difficulties, but like, it's better than it was. You know, I mean, I'm doing more things that I enjoy, and like I find that I personally feel like I'm meant to do my book and everything. And then with the acting, I'm working on all that.
I've been taking so much courses, like especially with this pandemic, I approach different from Tony Robbins, from Bob Proctor, from Jack Canfield, and also I've been following Abraham Hicks, but never really brought me the result that I wanted to do it. So I'm very, this course is very more, I found that I think it's a bit faster.
Roger, I just wanted to say thank you again, because a few years ago I realised that voice coaching wasn't the only thing that I could do, and that I had something else. But I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what it was.
For a limited time, learn more about how Roger can help you step into your best life by going to 4weekstoyourbestlife.com today.